this video is about the countertops that I did. These counters here were white, and I had put on there, you know, on Facebook and stuff where I had done these countertops, and everyone was like, "Oh, how'd you do them? How'd you do them?" So I tried to, you know, do something. I didn't get the kit or anything. I just bought the paint. I wanted it to be a you know, dark brown, basically be the majority of the color because of our decor. So, you know, because we have the lighter brown walls and we have dark brown walls over there. So I thought with the black knobs on these cabinets that it would look better with a darker color, with a dark brown. So I'm going to explain to you how I did this. I still have to do this one over here because we were using this one while for our coffee machine and stuff while I was doing these other counters, because it does take you a couple days. But if you do things at night right before you go to bed, then you give it a chance to dry, like I did with the base. So, you know, your primer, I taped up. Of course, last night I taped it up so I didn't get it on the wall, which I still got it on the wall. I'll have to clean that off, but taped it up, and then I applied just one thin coat of the black primer. Now let me show you what paints I'm using. I'm going to go through this step by step and let you see, you know, what I'm doing. I didn't do the kit. I wanted to just go ahead and just buy what, you know, everybody could get a hold of. It's easy. It wasn't that expensive. Let's see. You got the flat black. I just had some of this left over from another project. So, but remember, it has to be enamel. It has to be oil based because you don't want this coming off. All right. So I used my first color I'm using here. I just got a small. Matter of fact, you could get a smaller thing of this, you know, so you won't have to pay so much. You can get one that's like a quart like that. But then I use the flat brown protective enamel. Okay, oil based. That's the first layer that you see in there that I've sponged on. Next, I use this. It's an oil based semi gloss enamel. It's called Deep Base. It had kind of almost a see through. You could kind of see through the color. Let's see. Well, I'll show it to you when I put it on. But I think that's really one of the reasons why it turned out so well is because of this color here. Then I applied. This was something I had on my walls, which, like I said, you could get a small thing. You probably wouldn't even have to use the premium. This is just something I had left over, and the color, it's like just a light tan. I can't see on here. It's called Sandy Cove, and that's the color that we painted a lot of the walls in our house when we bought this house. That's the second. That's actually the third color I put on. Then I come back and toned it all down with this, the brown again. Now, after all that dries, what I'll do is I'm just going to take you through the process, and then edit the video. But you just take your little sponge. This is what I did this morning. This is like a round bath sponge. I couldn't find any texture sponges anywhere, so I was like, what the heck. I just bought a round one and I cut it up, and I just cut some layers and stuff out of it, folded it up and cut it so that I could get texture. Okay, and so this is the first layer, and you just do it randomly. You know, you want to move the sponge around because you don't want it to look uniform at all. So you want it to look more natural if you just and you do want it to kind of raise. You want to have some raised up spots, because you see, I want to let that dry like that, because if I do, it's going to end up. See if I can show you. See the texture in it? That's how it ends up with that texture. So some of that's the polyurethane, but a lot of that is the actual where raised up from where I'd let that paint dry like that. Okay, so I'll come back once I get the next layer. What I'm going to do right now is let it dry for about an hour, watch some TV, let it dry for about an hour, and then I'll come back and apply the next color. Okay, and I've waited about an hour and a half. You know, it could be a little bit tacky. The brown's mostly dried, and so I took the next color And as you can see, I just varied it. We got some big splotches here and there, but that's the second coat, and that was the glitter paint there. You can go back to the beginning of the video and see that was the second one, that base coat that I had. So now I'm going to wait and let that get mostly dry, and then I'll use the other color that I have before I put the dark brown back on top. So that is the second layer. Okay, now I'll put on the last coat of a different color, that's Sandy Cove. Alright, you can look at the beginning of the video to tell you exactly what kind of paint that is, but this is the last different color. The next color I will put more brown to kind of fill it in and tone it down. So this is the Sandy Cove. Alright, I have just applied the last layer of the sponged on paint, which was the brown, to kind of tone it down a little bit. Okay, I did just randomly, well, I saw any really light spots I would go through and you know, cover it up with the brown. But I think that a lot of colors, what really gives it the depth, so that you see the different colors in here, it makes it look really natural, having those two different light colors. So what I'll do next, I'll have to wait and let this dry, and then I'm going to apply what we call glaze. And the glaze is really what brings it all together. Okay, I discovered this stuff the other day, and it's about 14 bucks for this. However, it's gonna make it look fantastic. This is it's actually a Java brown, semi-transparent decorative glaze. Okay, I got that at Home Depot. Now, when I put this on, this is what takes the longest to dry. It's 8 hours or more. I think it took mine about 10 to dry. However, it makes it look fabulous. I mean, it really what brings it all together. So it just tones down the colors, puts a little brown on there, and tones the colors all down and makes it look very natural. So that's my next step. So I'll have to wait a couple hours and make sure that all the paint, the sponge paint, is dry. Then I can put this on, and this is going to take 8 to 10 hours to dry. And then I can put the polyurethane on. Okay, now I have put the glaze on. As you can see, it makes a world of difference. It really blends in the colors. So I put that glaze on. Now the waiting begins. I have to wait at least probably 8 to 10 hours before I can put the polyurethane on. But see how it blends that in? Glaze is the trick. It's just a little update on this counter. I guess it depends on where your air circulates and stuff. This has been overnight and it's still not quite dry, so be prepared with the glaze. It may take a little longer. This is still kind of wet, so that glaze takes a while to dry, but you do want it to completely dry before you put that polyurethane on it, so be prepared for that. I painted this, let's see, yesterday afternoon before 4, and it is still not dry yet, so be prepared for that, because you may have to wait a little bit longer. Just all, I guess, depends on humidity and everything in the air and the temperature and stuff. Now I have applied the first coat of the floor grade polyurethane. I tell you, you got to be careful not to put that glaze on too thick, because I think I did, trying to tone it down, because I used a little bit, probably a little bit too much of the lighter color, and I was trying to make sure it matched my other counters, and it took 2 days for that stuff to dry. So you have to just be real careful not to overdo your glaze, okay? So this is my first layer of polyurethane. I'm going to let this dry, and then tomorrow night I will get a light, I use a light sanding block. Let me show you what I use. Well, it's not this one. It's, oh yeah, here it is. I'm doing 2 projects at one time. I'm redoing this table too. But anyway, I use this, I think this is like a 220 something like that, very light sanding block, and I will sand over that polyurethane, just a little lightly sand over it, and then I will apply my final coat. And that way, you want to make sure you put plenty of polyurethane on there so that you don't have to redo these counters anytime soon. And you know, in a couple of years, get a little bit of wear and tear on the polyurethane, you can always you know, put another coat on there. But you know, it's the floor grade, so it's the stuff they put on gym floors and all. So if you put a couple of coats, then you should be fine, and you should never really have to worry too much about it. So I'll be back. This is the last step. This morning before I went to work, I put on my, slapped on the last layer. I put 2 coats of polyurethane, so I'd already had one that had dried, and then I put another layer on this morning. Matter of fact, I didn't even sand it because it looked so good. I just went ahead and just laid the other one on there. And you know, don't do straight lines and stuff. You know, just do it back and forth like this, and just make sure it's all covered. Because if you just do a straight line, try to do it neat like that, you're going to see all the lines and stuff in it, and it's not going to look as good. This, I just kind of put it like I was painting a wall, and went back and forth different angles, and then, you know, made sure that it was all covered, make sure I got the edges and everything. And I mean, you can't even, it's gorgeous. Look at the grain in it. I mean, it looks like a real wooden, I mean not wooden, a real granite. It looks like real granite. I mean, can't get much better than that. If you follow the instructions that I gave you on this video, then you can have countertops like this. And just remember, if you know, I wanted a darker brown for my main color, so that was what I used on the bottom, is what I used on the top before I used polyurethane. So you know, you can decide if you can always use this same instructional video, but if you want to go like with gray granite or whatever, you just use a gray instead of the brown, okay, with the other whites and stuff, so that you can get that hue in there. See, like that. Okay, these used to be white countertops, but look beautiful. And I was wanting to see if I could actually duplicate what I did in the rest of my kitchen with this counter. And because this was done days after, probably a week or so after I had done the counters. So as you can tell, yep, it's pretty much the same consistencies, same color. You know, it's not a whole lot of difference. It looks like they were all done the same day. If you follow these instructions, you can have some beautiful countertops that last you a long, long time. Just make sure you use that floor grade polyurethane, okay? That's the stuff that they use in the gym, on the gym floors and stuff like that. That way, to give you years, you may, in a couple of years, I may go back, sand a little bit, and put some more of the polyurethane down if I want. If it starts looking a little worn or anything, but I think it's going to be a long time before I have to do anything to these counters. There you go. Enjoy. And if you have any questions, put it in the comments, and I'll try to answer them for you. All right? Thank you.